Be relentless or be forgotten. Speech in the style of Elon Musk. Look, the world doesn't care about your intentions. It doesn't care how hard you tried, how late you stayed up, or how passionate you were. The world responds to results. That's the brutal, liberating truth. You either make something happen, or you don't. You either build it, or you watch someone else do it. There are two kinds of people in this world, the relentless and the forgotten. Relentless people don't wait for permission. They don't wait for ideal conditions. They push through failure, through ridicule, through silence. They wake up with a problem and refuse to sleep until something has shifted, even just a little. Being relentless means solving problems that everyone else accepts as impossible. It means running toward the hard things, not away from them. If your idea doesn't scare you, it's not big enough. If people don't doubt you, you're not far enough ahead. This isn't about working hard for the sake of it. It's not about hustle culture or toxic ambition. It's about urgency, existential urgency, because if you don't act, someone else will, and if nobody acts, we all lose. Progress doesn't happen just because we hope it will. It happens because someone refuses to quit. People say, take your time, be patient. No, move fast, break things, break yourself if you have to, but build something that matters. Being relentless is uncomfortable. It's expensive, it's lonely, but comfort is a trap. Safety is a slow death. The future belongs to those who can suffer intelligently, who can carry pain and pressure like fuel, not like baggage. You don't need more motivation. You need a reason that's bigger than your excuses. You need a vision that wakes you up at 3 a.m. and won't let you go back to sleep. Everything great is on the other side of absurd effort. Relentless effort. You want to leave a mark. Burn through every version of you that gave up too soon. Be relentless or be forgotten. That's the choice. That's the cost. Results matter more than intentions. Relentlessness beats talent. Discomfort fuels growth. Vision must outweigh excuses in a world inundated with ideas, ambitions, and dreams. One truth rises above all. Results matter more than intentions. This is not a cynical observation, it's a practical one. Intentions are invisible. They don't build rockets, they don't write code, they don't change the trajectory of civilization. Results do. The world is shaped by what gets done, not by what people meant to do. You can have the best intentions in the world, but if you don't execute, if you don't deliver, it amounts to nothing. You might want to solve climate change, revolutionize transportation, or improve healthcare, but unless you translate that desire into tangible outcomes, your intentions are indistinguishable from wishful thinking. And the harsh truth is, no one is grading you on effort, no one is measuring how much you cared, the only thing that counts is what you made real. This is especially important in engineering, technology, and science, where outcomes are binary. A rocket either launches or it doesn't. A system either scales or it breaks. There's no in-between state where effort is rewarded without function. It either works or it doesn't. That level of clarity strips away the comfort of excuses. It leaves you with one brutal, liberating metric. Did it work? Intentions are like theories without experiments. You can theorize endlessly, debate possibilities, draft plans, but until there's something measurable, something observable, it doesn't matter. No one cares how beautiful your slide deck was if the prototype fails. No one remembers how passionate you were about a product that never shipped. The only thing that gets remembered is what shipped. What worked, what created value. This doesn't mean intentions are bad. In fact, good intentions often spark great innovation, but they are not sufficient. They are a starting point, not a deliverable. Wanting to improve the world isn't special, it's expected. The difference is in the execution. Can you convert vision into velocity? Can you transform belief into action? Can you do the hard thing long enough to make something undeniable? Every failed product, every collapsed startup, every abandoned invention is a graveyard of good intentions. Most people don't fail because they're lazy. They fail because they don't cross the brutal threshold between trying and delivering. They underestimate how hard it is to actually finish something. to make it work under real conditions, to bring something to life that withstands scrutiny, competition, and scale. Intentions are cheap. Everyone has them. Go to any coffee shop in any city, and you'll hear 10 conversations about ideas that could change the world. But listen again 6 months later, and you'll find that almost none of those ideas made it past the talking stage. Why? Because execution is hard, because reality doesn't care how inspired you were. It only responds to what you do. This applies everywhere. In business, you can't say, well, we meant to hit our targets. In engineering, you can't say, the code was supposed to work. In life, you don't get credit for meaning to call someone. You either did or you didn't. That's how accountability works. And when you embrace that, it becomes a superpower. It gives you focus. It cuts through the noise. Because when you know that results are the only thing that counts, you stop wasting time on the performative parts of effort. You stop chasing praise for being on the right path and start chasing outcomes that actually move the needle. It's not about how many hours you worked, it's about what you shipped. It's not about how passionate you are. It's about what you delivered. That mindset shift changes everything. People often conflate motion with progress. They stay busy, attend meetings, write strategy documents, but none of it leads to real change. That's because they're focused on intention, the optics of effort instead of results. But motion is not progress. Progress is measurable. Progress is undeniable. It's a working product. It's a breakthrough in data. It's a solved bottleneck. Anything else is just movement without impact. You don't build trust through promises. You build it through outcomes. Whether you're leading a team or pitching a venture, no one is going to keep betting on you just because you mean well. They need to see traction. They need proof that you can close the loop between idea and execution. That's what earns respect. That's what scales trust. In a high-stakes environment, whether that's launching a reusable rocket or deploying a critical system, there is no room for wishful thinking. Either the system works under pressure or it doesn't. It's not enough to say, we thought it would work. You have to build things that survive contact with reality. That's the difference between the people who dream and the people who ship. It's not that effort is meaningless. It's just not the end goal. It's part of the process, the input, but the output, what you made, what you fixed, what you built, that's the only thing that matters in the long run. That's what leaves a legacy. No one remembers who tried the hardest. They remember who finished the job. If you want to do something legendary, you need to optimize for results, not perception. You need to value iteration, testing, failure, and data, not applause or validation. It's not about whether you felt productive. It's whether the world is measurably different because of what you did. The bar is high, and that's a good thing. It means fewer distractions. It means a ruthless clarity of purpose. Intentions are easy to rationalize. Results are brutally honest. That honesty can be painful, but it's also where the real growth is. If something doesn't work, it doesn't matter how good your reason was. You pivot, you improve, you take the hit and keep building. That's the mindset of people who don't just want to talk about the future. They want to build it. The world is full of people who meant well. What it needs are people who deliver, people who push through ambiguity, complexity, and resistance to make things real. That's the real currency. That's the only scoreboard that matters. Ideas are abundant. Execution is rare, and in the end, it's the rare ones, the builders, the doers, the finishers, who shape the future. Relentlessness beats talent. Over and over again, in industry after industry, in challenge after challenge, the ones who win aren't always the smartest. They're the ones who refuse to quit. Talent is a spark. Relentlessness is a fire that doesn't go out. Talent gets you started. Relentlessness keeps you going when everything breaks, when people doubt you, when the logical thing to do is stop. People overestimate talent and underestimate sheer persistence. They look at successful people and assume there's something magical about them, some rare cognitive gift or innate brilliance, but more often than not the truth is simpler and harder. They just kept going. They endured more failures, more rejections, more late nights, more iterations, more stress, more boredom. They outlasted the competition. They were relentless. Raw ability matters, but in the real world, success isn't a straight line. It's chaotic. It's full of blind spots and dead ends. It tests your patience, your discipline, your ability to adapt. Talent can give you an edge at the beginning, but it's your tolerance for frustration, your capacity to keep solving problems no matter how long it takes. That's what determines how far you actually go. Relentlessness means doing the work whether you feel like it or not. Whether it's fun or not, whether it's fair or not. It's waking up and solving the same problem 10 different ways until something clicks. It's continuing after the excitement fades, when the team is tired, when momentum slows, when you're no longer getting applause. That's when the real players are separated from the hobbyists. You can't afford to rely on mood or motivation. Those are temporary. They're nice when they show up, but they're unreliable allies. The people who build things that last, products, companies, revolutions, are the ones who act with discipline. They do the work regardless of how they feel. They don't wait for inspiration. They create their own momentum through action. Being relentless also means being resourceful. When the plan breaks, you don't freeze. You reconfigure, you rethink, rebuild, reroute. You don't get paralyzed by failure. You don't take it personally. You analyze the variables, adjust the model, and keep building. Every failure becomes feedback. Every setback becomes data. The relentless are not just stubborn, they're flexible in strategy and rigid in mission. There will always be people smarter than you, more connected than you, more polished, more charismatic, more technically gifted. But if they're not willing to suffer longer than you, to get their hands dirtier than you, to work when it's not glamorous, they won't beat you in the long run. You can outwork them, you can outpersist them. That's what the relentless do. They find a way forward when others fold. The world is full of talented people who quit too early. People who had the potential but not the endurance. They hit friction and stopped. They got bored. They got discouraged. They waited for a perfect plan. Meanwhile, the relentless kept moving, kept iterating, kept failing forward, and even if they started behind, they eventually passed everyone who gave up. Relentlessness also creates a feedback loop. The more you push through resistance, the more you trust your ability to handle hard things. You build confidence not by feeling good about yourself, but by accumulating evidence that you can survive difficulty. That psychological resilience becomes an asset. When everyone else panics, you're calm. When everyone else retreats, you double down. You've trained yourself to do the hard thing even when it hurts. People like to talk about potential, but potential is meaningless without followed through. You can be a genius with zero impact if you never ship anything. You can be brilliant and broke if you never take the uncomfortable steps required to scale. What separates high-impact people from the rest isn't how clever their ideas are. It's how relentless they are about execution, about making it real, about forcing the world to take them seriously through action. Relentlessness doesn't mean recklessness. It's not about burning out or ignoring feedback. It's not about ego. It's about consistency, showing up, adapting intelligently, persisting without losing your ability to learn. That balance between grit and humility, between intensity and reflection, is what drives compounding results over time. You become a machine that learns faster than others because you don't stop when things get messy. It's easy to romanticize talent. It's flashy, it gets headlines, but talent without grit is wasted. There are countless stories of brilliant founders, brilliant engineers, brilliant creatives who never followed through. They got distracted. They overestimated their abilities and underestimated the grind. Meanwhile, the relentless, maybe less flashy, less obviously gifted, kept chipping away, and when the dust settled, they were the ones who actually built something that mattered. In competitive environments, the relentless always have an advantage. They don't care about how things should be. They deal with how things are. They don't complain about friction. They master it. They don't wait for optimal circumstances. They create under constraints. While others are waiting for signs, for clarity, for certainty, the relentless are already on iteration 5, solving real problems, moving the needle. Being relentless also earns you credibility. People start to trust you, not because of your resume, but because you deliver. Over and over, when something breaks, they know you'll fix it. When a project stalls, they know you'll drive it to completion. That reliability compounds over time. It opens doors, creates leverage, builds reputations. Not because you're the smartest person in the room, but because you're the one who never walks away from the hard stuff. There's no talent that substitutes for drive, no brilliance that excuses inaction. The people who break through aren't waiting to be discovered. They're building when no one's watching, practicing when it's not fun, studying after everyone else goes home, showing up early, staying late, pushing the limit again and again. Not because someone told them to, but because they refuse to accept average. The myth is that success comes from genius moments. The reality is that success comes from relentless iteration, boring, difficult, thankless work repeated until something clicks. It's debugging code for 18 hours straight. It's failing every experiment for 6 months. It's launching version 1.0 knowing it's still rough but refusing to stall out. The relentless don't romanticize perfection. They romanticize progress. In any field, the people at the top aren't just talented, they're obsessed, they're intense, they're relentless, they don't turn it off, they don't make excuses, they don't stop. ChatGPT said, discomfort fuels growth. It is not a barrier, it is a signal. It tells you exactly where the edge is, where the expansion happens, where the next version of you is waiting. The human instinct is to avoid discomfort, to pull back, to stabilize. But in that stability there is no evolution. You cannot grow while clinging to comfort. Growth demands friction, tension, and pressure. Growth lives in the stretch. Most people want to improve without being disrupted. They want to evolve while staying the same. They want new results without changing behaviors, but that's not how it works. You don't level up without feeling awkward, without being bad at something, without confronting your own limitations. Discomfort is not just part of the process, it is the process. You grow by moving directly into the zones you normally avoid. Think about physical training. You don't build strength by lifting what's easy. You tear muscle fibers through resistance, and they grow back stronger. That's not a metaphor, it's a law. The same principle applies to everything else. You only develop intellectual toughness, emotional resilience, and creative depth by exposing yourself to pressure you haven't yet mastered. You deliberately enter zones where you are unqualified, unready, unproven. That's the crucible of transformation. Discomfort isn't pain for the sake of it. It's a necessary byproduct of adaptation. It's what happens when your current systems are insufficient for the task in front of you. When you feel uncomfortable, it means your internal tools are being stretched, your patterns are being disrupted, your identity is being challenged, and that's exactly where the upgrade begins. You don't need to run from that feeling. You need to understand it, use it, and lean into it. Comfort is seductive because it's familiar. It gives you predictability. It makes you feel competent, but competence isn't growth. Just because you can operate smoothly inside your current environment doesn't mean you're expanding. You might just be repeating yourself. You might be executing on a closed loop. Growth doesn't live in repetition. It lives in iteration, and iteration means doing something you're not good at yet. Discomfort is the signal that you are learning in real time. It's the friction between your current state and your potential. When you enter a space where you don't have all the answers, where you feel slow, clumsy, or unsure, that's the place where your brain is forced to rewire. You don't memorize your way to mastery, you adapt your way there. That adaptation is uncomfortable, and that discomfort is valuable. If you're always comfortable, you're not evolving, you're preserving. You're maintaining a version of yourself that has already peaked in some way, and the longer you stay comfortable, the more resistant you become to change. Comfort makes you soft, it makes you complacent. It tells you you're doing fine even when you're stagnating, and in a world that is accelerating, stagnation is regression. You don't become resilient by avoiding difficulty. You become resilient by walking into difficulty and coming out stronger. You become capable not because things are easy, but because you've trained under pressure. Every time you face discomfort, you expand your bandwidth, you build tolerance, you extend your capacity. What once felt overwhelming becomes routine. That's how growth compounds, not by avoiding hard things, but by increasing your ability to carry them. The people who grow the fastest are not the most talented. They're the ones who make discomfort a habit. They don't avoid failure. They run controlled experiments where failure is likely. They don't protect their ego. They expose it. They deliberately take on projects they might not succeed at, just to stretch their threshold. That level of aggressive curiosity is what separates the truly exceptional from the merely competent. Discomfort also acts as a filter. Most people won't go there. Most people will retreat to what they know. They'll choose ease over growth. That's what makes discomfort such a strategic advantage. If you can operate where others collapse, if you can keep building under stress, keep thinking clearly under pressure, keep showing up while others are shrinking, then you are separating yourself by orders of magnitude. That gap doesn't close, it widens. The trick is not to numb the discomfort. Don't distract yourself from it. Don't minimize it. Study it. Track where it shows up. Notice what triggers it. Identify the patterns that provoke resistance. Those are the exact areas where your next growth curve lies. Your discomfort is a map. Every edge you feel is a doorway. You just have to stop running from it. Innovation lives in discomfort. No one invents something new while feeling safe. Safe thinking is repeat thinking. Breakthroughs happen when people tolerate ambiguity, pressure, complexity, and risk, without losing momentum. If you want to lead, if you want to build, if you want to shift culture or engineer the future, then you have to be comfortable being uncomfortable. You have to find calm inside the chaos. Your relationship to discomfort determines your trajectory. If you avoid it, you'll be stuck in loops. If you engage it, you'll find compounding growth. This applies in personal development, in leadership, in engineering, in art, in any meaningful pursuit. Whatever you're trying to build, if it matters, it will stretch you. If it doesn't stretch you, it's probably not big enough. Discomfort is also the proving ground of discipline. Anyone can act when conditions are favorable. Anyone can focus when it's exciting, but discomfort strips away illusion. It reveals what you actually believe. When the pressure is on, when the path is unclear, when the stakes are high and the doubts are loud, what do? That's your real baseline, and that's where true discipline is forged. You don't get stronger by avoiding weakness. You get stronger by walking into it, studying it, and training through it. The same way you build a muscle by repeatedly stressing it, you build mental and emotional strength by exposing yourself to uncertainty and pushing through anyway. You don't need to wait until you're ready. You need to move while you're unsure. Readiness is a result of movement, not a prerequisite. Every time you lean into discomfort, you're signaling something powerful to yourself, that you're capable of more than you think, that you're willing to let go of the past version of you, that you are not defined by your current limits. That kind of mindset becomes unstoppable, because while others are clinging to comfort, you're expanding into your future. The more you engage with discomfort, the less power it has over you. What once felt unbearable becomes familiar. What once triggered fear now triggers focus. You become more agile, more anti-fragile, more prepared for uncertainty. That's not an accident, that's training. And the only way to train that edge is to keep showing up to the discomfort until it becomes home. Vision must outweigh excuses. That's the law of execution, the rule of forward motion. The weight of your vision, how deeply you believe in it, how clearly you see it, how urgently you want it, must be heavier than the friction of your doubts, your fears, your distractions, and your rationalizations. If it isn't, you'll find reasons to stop. You'll retreat into logic, comfort, and hesitation. But when vision outweighs excuses, everything shifts. The resistance doesn't go away, but it loses power. It becomes background noise. Excuses are easy. They're seductive. They always sound reasonable in the moment. They're based on facts you can point to. Not enough time, not enough capital, the wrong timing, the wrong market, the wrong team. And yet, those same constraints have existed for everyone who ever built anything worthwhile. The difference wasn't the absence of excuses. It was the presence of a vision too compelling to ignore. A vision that made excuses irrelevant. People often think the battle is between success and failure. It's not. The real battle is between purpose and avoidance, between what you claim to want and what you actually pursue, between the clarity of what you could build and the comfort of staying where you are. Excuses are tools for staying where you are. Vision is the blueprint for becoming something else. To build anything of consequence, you have to make that blueprint real. You have to see the end before the beginning. You have to be so obsessed with what you're building that it burns hotter than the fear of failure. That obsession doesn't have to be loud. It doesn't have to be dramatic, but it has to be persistent. It has to be anchored so deeply in your system that when the excuses show up, and they always will, you can override them with action. Vision isn't just imagination. It's clarity plus commitment. It's seeing something that doesn't exist yet and moving toward it like it's already inevitable. It means treating that future version of reality as real enough to pull you forward, even when there's no external validation, even when there are setbacks, even when progress is slower than expected. It's your internal compass, not your scoreboard. When you lack vision, you drift, you get lost in distraction, you make progress on the wrong things. You say yes to too many requests. You let urgency replace importance. But when your vision is strong, it becomes a filter. It helps you say no. It helps you prioritize. It helps you endure. You don't need perfect conditions to act. You just need to be aimed at something big enough that excuses look small by comparison. Excuses multiply in the absence of vision. The smaller the vision, the more believable the excuses become. If you're just working for a paycheck or chasing status or reacting to pressure, then it's easy to quit when it gets hard. But when your vision is existential, when it's connected to something you deeply care about or something that could actually move humanity forward, then the excuse to stop becomes irrelevant. You can't logic your way through resistance. You have to overpower it with conviction, the only way to make something truly difficult happen. Whether that's building a company, launching a product, changing a culture, or pioneering a new field, is to decide that your vision matters more than your comfort, more than your reputation, more than your current level of skill or knowledge. You don't wait until you're ready. You move and become ready along the way. There's a false belief that clarity comes before action, that you need a fully formed plan to start. That's not how it works. You get clarity through movement. You build the map by walking the terrain. Vision doesn't mean you know every step. It means you know the direction. And you trust that you'll figure it out as you go. Every excuse tries to get you to pause and replan. Vision tells you to build while learning. Excuses often disguise themselves as rational thinking. They dress up as risk analysis, practicality, or timing, but underneath they're usually fear. Fear of failure, fear of embarrassment, fear of loss. Vision doesn't eliminate fear, it just makes it irrelevant. When what you're building matters more than how you feel, you start making decisions from mission instead of mood. That's when real momentum begins. You don't overcome excuses by arguing with them. You overcome them by acting in spite of them. You don't need to feel brave. You don't need perfect conditions. You just need to move. One action, one iteration, one problem solved. Vision gives you the leverage to do that. Without it, the resistance wins. With it, excuses lose their grip. The people who build the future aren't the ones with the fewest obstacles. They're the ones who stayed aligned with a vision when the obstacles piled up. They kept going not because it was easy, but because they couldn't stop. Something inside them refused to let go. That's what vision does. It rewires your tolerance for difficulty. It recalibrates your sense of what's acceptable. It creates a kind of internal gravity that pulls you through the grind. There will always be more reasons to wait, to pause, to delay, more reasons why now isn't the right time, but vision is what makes now a non-negotiable. It puts urgency into your system. It makes it impossible to settle. Because you're not chasing convenience, you're chasing impact, and excuses don't build impact. Action does. Relentless, imperfect, momentum-driven action that compounds over time. You don't get to build something meaningful without making trade-offs. Time, energy, relationships, predictability. They all get taxed when you pursue a vision that matters. Excuses try to protect those comforts. Vision challenges them. It asks, what are you willing to give up? What discomfort are you willing to endure? What level of risk are you willing to operate under? The answers to those questions define the ceiling of your growth. Vision is not a soft concept. It's not about daydreaming. It's a performance tool. It's what allows you to operate under pressure, under uncertainty, and still make intelligent decisions. It's what lets you stay focused while everything around you is chaotic. It's what makes other people believe in your direction, even when there's no proof yet. Vision creates stability inside volatility. If you're stuck, if you're stalled, if your execution is inconsistent, it's almost always a vision problem. Either it's not clear enough, not big enough, or not real enough to you. Excuses thrive in that ambiguity, but when your vision gets sharp, everything else gets sharper with it. Focus improves, discipline improves, output improves, because now there's something bigger than your mood driving the system.